I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. During a Senate GOP press briefing on Tuesday, Senator Rob Portman spoke about President Biden's new National Environmental Policy Act rule. Senator Dan Sullivan led the group of senators against the ruling, saying earlier in the hearing the rule will slow down all infrastructure, construction, and energy projects. Portman decried inflation under the Biden administration, claiming the NEPA rule will make conditions even worse. He said the rule, quote, runs counter to everything we've been promoting, again on a bipartisan basis.
Well said, Shelley. So I want to start by thanking Senator Sullivan for his leadership on this and in permitting generally, because he has understood that America needs to be able to be competitive globally, and that the ability to green light a project in this country is harder than it is in almost all of our competitors, and we've fallen behind continually. About 11 years ago, I first got involved in this from a legislative perspective, and I've got the scars to show it. And it's always been bipartisan, but it's always been tough. And we were able to get the Fast 41, so-called, which was a provision in the last highway bill, which helped in terms of permitting. We were able to get the Permitting Council up and going. The Permitting Council looks at projects and speeds up the time frame. And as Senator Capito said so well, it's not about not having environmental reviews. It's being sure that the environmental reviews are done in a responsible way. And by the way, that's something the Trump administration added to with their NEPA rule, which said that you need to have reasonably foreseen environmental issues, which, you know, that's certainly reasonable. And then the Biden administration came in and pulled the rug out from under these projects all around the country. So clearly, this is a huge problem for our country. And again, we've made some progress here in Congress. But this NEPA rule that the Biden administration has put out is going exactly in the opposite direction. So finally, we were getting these projects green-lighted. We were helping in terms of the construction workers who are on that list of 50, who have been always supported. The AFL-CIO Building Trades Council has been out front on this forever. Also, we worked with some environmental groups to come up, again, with this balanced approach. But now that balance has been shifted. So it's interesting because I first got involved in this because of a hydropower project, a green project. A hydropower plant on the Ohio River that was taking forever to get permitted. And the Metropolitan Utility Group came to me and said, guys, can't you help us on our permitting? But this is true generally all around the country. This is affecting green energy projects as well as affecting highway projects. It's affecting wind farms. It's affecting solar farms. It's affecting the energy business generally. It's affecting what we just did in terms of providing all this funding for high-tech manufacturing in America. These same chip plants, the so-called fabs that make semiconductors, are going to be affected by this. So on the one hand, we're saying we want to encourage more projects in this country. We want to get ourselves in a situation where we're not losing ground to other countries around the world that have much better permitting rules. On the other hand, the Biden administration does this, which runs counter to everything that we've been promoting, again, on a bipartisan basis, not with many Democrats, but with enough to get it done. The final thing that I want to say is we are living in a time of really high inflation. For those of you in this room, you've never seen inflation like this. For those of us who have a few more gray hairs, we've seen it, but it's been 40 years. And people back home are just dying under the pressure of inflation. It's not just the price at the pump, it's food. It's their ability to buy clothes, that, you know, it's their ability to pay their rent. I mean, everything is going up. This is going to add to inflation. Why? It's very simple. Inflation is about demand and supply being mismatched, right? And the supply is about things like projects, like a pipeline for natural gas to move it from the Marcellus and Utica fields in Ohio to the coast so that we can have liquefied natural gas. That's part of the supply side, is to be able to, as an example, to be able to have energy in this country, to be able to get the cost down. This actually runs counter to that. So it's wrong for so many reasons, but one is specifically right now, while we're trying so hard to figure out how do we get out of this inflationary spiral, we've got to do something, which the Fed is doing on the demand side, much better to do it on the supply side. And for us instead to be going the other way with this NEPA rule and to make it even harder, instead of taking 4 years, taking 6 years, to permit some simple projects, including environmentally important projects to those on the other side, It just makes no sense whatsoever. So I appreciate the fact that we're going to have opportunity to speak on this, to vote on it. And I hope my colleagues on the other side of the aisle look at this carefully. And let's end up with reasonable permitting reforms. If we do that, we'll be able to move this country forward and be able to reduce the inflationary pressures we're feeling now.